You know, a lot of people think that you need a fortune to join a gym, but here at Advanced Fitness Center, you get everything you need for $23.99 a month. That means full access to our free weights. Oh, snap. Cardio machines. And overall, it's just a great workout environment, all without breaking the bank. No contracts, no hidden fees, no alarms that goes off when you're lifting too heavy. Just a gym that works for you. So, if you're looking for a place to train that's affordable, AFC is the spot. Come check us out today. I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
What is up, WTP fam? It's your boy back with another one, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Brady Brown, right there. Currently, he's a GM at WWA, and I'm gonna let him tell you more about that here in a minute. But let me give him a moment to introduce himself, because I can't do him any justice if I do it. This man is pretty big in Texas wrestling right now, so let him take it away.
Oh, man, you give me way too much credit there, George. I wouldn't say I'm like big in Texas wrestling. I would say that here in East Texas, we're trying to make a stamp. We're trying to improve that image. A lot of people look down on East Texas wrestling, and shouldn't be the case, because there's so much talent out here, no matter if it's at WWA or some of the other promotions. So I try my best to promote this area and work in this area and see what we can do. But man, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me here. It's been a couple of weeks of shocking things that have happened in the WWA world, and NTW's world been crazy too the past couple of months. So it's been nuts, man. So I'm excited to be here and getting to follow up some of the great people that you've had on your show lately.
Well, everyone's been great so far, except for one guy. We're not going to talk about him now, not yet, but, we'll get to him later.
I bet we will.
I was kind of forced into that one, like, Marshawn Lynch. I'm only here so I don't get fined. But
that knucklehead.
Oh, man. But, like he said, he's WWA. He's been around East Texas, probably out further, but I've seen you at a couple of NTW shows. I actually saw you at my very first one, which was last year, Game Changer. And every now and then you come in and you do something with NTW.
I heard that the boss is suspended in June for that show. So that'd be a great time for the purveyor of respected business to show up and make his presence known at NTW.
Yeah, that is correct. He confirmed it on the last episode that I had with him. He is suspended. They're trying to do it all the way up until September, I believe. But
I mean, he shows up at my show sometimes. I always have an open door policy, and as long as you behave yourself, and we've had to reprimand him a couple times. But I'd love to go back to your show. There's some things that have happened, at NTW that I was involved in that have some unfinished business.
Oh, yeah. And we are going to talk about that because I've seen you a few times, seen the internet beef between you and Deshaun. And like I said, we're going to get into that here in a little bit. But I do want to take a moment to let, like I said, introduce you, let everyone know who you are in the WTP fam. Because, most of the WWA fans know who you are, NTW fans and most East Texas fans know who you are. But everyone wants to know who Brady Brown is, because you pop up on my feed quite a bit on Facebook, and I'm sharing some of the stuff you and Deshaun are going back and forth with. And it's good stuff, too.
I believe in social media interaction. I preach that to my guys that are on my roster. I believe in promos. I believe in doing all that kind of stuff. But, man, I have a background in marketing. Mm-hmm. I used to work in, retail sales like a lot of people do growing up. And then when I hit my late 20s, early 30s, I got into professional sales. I worked in radio. I've been a sports broadcaster. I've managed bands. In fact, one of the bands I used to manage, we did the theme music for And a lot of people might not remember this group, but it's the Dark Circle. It had APOC, Tim Storm, and
Oh,
Lance Hoyt before he was Lance Archer in it. And we did the theme song for them, and we actually went up there to some PCW shows and um, played their intro before the main event. So it was really cool. So that was kind of like my first taste into, Texas wrestling.
oh,
But I'm an insurance agent and got into wrestling through some corporate sponsorships, and then I ran into a buddy of mine. I've known him for a long time when I was in radio broadcasting, and I used to see him at football games all the time. His name is Chris Preston,
okay.
and he's a huge, local high school football fan. So we were talking. He's the owner of League of Lions in Marshall, and I know that you had Ace on here who started at League of Lions.
Oh,
Well, Chris and I, he's been like, man, you need to come over here. You like to do stuff. You like to market. You need to come over. We've been every time I run into him, he would tell me that. So finally, I got to a point in my life. I was like, you know what? I'm settled in my job, my career. I have some extra free time. So I met with Chris. Went to a show October of 2023 and met some folks there. Some that have been enemies to me, and some that have been close allies. And started working on doing some promo. I was actually going to just work on promo writing. And they say, I know they're asking me to be on camera and interview people. So I became their investigative journalist, which is something that they didn't have for a while. So I loved it. I had a lot of fun. I got into stirring the pot. It was kind of my character. And, I'm not a bad guy, but I do like to stir the pot a little bit just to make it fun, get the reaction that we need. So I had a lot of fun doing that, and the whole respect thing. Funny story came from one of the first interviews I did with Matthew Day Luna. It was a two-parter. It was like 20 minutes, because Matthew likes to talk, and he's also good at social media.
Oh yeah, that man's always on social media with something.
So I had this thing that whenever I would stir the pot and I would ask them something controversial, I said, with all due respect. And then he was like, is that going to be like your catchphrase? All day respect. Da, da, da. So the word respect kind of came into play. So that's where we ended up later on, doing respect the business. Of course, he attacked me that day just for asking a question about how his mentor, Barrett Brown, would feel about his actions in the ring. Because at the time, Matthew Day Luna was doing some shady stuff. So,
Ooh,
he didn't like that. And he attacked me with a shillelagh, hit me in the back of the head. And so Matthew and I, we have been enemies ever since. I respect him as a wrestler. His rapping's decent, but his actions I don't respect. So
yeah, I've seen that a couple of times. You and Matt didn't see eye to eye at a couple of shows you've been to. One in particular was Game Changer, and of course Operation Oro. And me and Ace talked about that, and yeah, I guess you and Ace get along, and Matt's just like, I don't trust him.
Well, Ace sees what I can do for him and what respecting the business can do for him. So Ace just needed a little time away from Matthew Day Luna. A lot of people were saying that he was living in the shadow of Day Luna. I don't think Day Luna would have the success he had in 2024 if it wasn't for Ace Alexander. So I talked to Ace. I said, man, it's time to get out of that shadow. I said, I don't believe that you're in it. I said, but people say you are. I said, it's time for you to do your own thing. So Ace came to WWA by himself, and dude, he went through trials and tribulations, and before he finally beat Aaron Rydell for the brand new Grand Championship title. So,
Oof, man.
That's tough.
So I'm just going to rewind a little bit. You said you were in marketing, sales, retail. You transitioned slowly into wrestling. Were you a fan of wrestling before you got into the business?
Man, I'm 46 years old. I've been watching wrestling since I was 4 or 5 years old.
Man, I don't know. You went out for a second. I guess Deshaun is trying to prevent this because he
I don't have the crappy internet that he does, so I don't know what's going on. But
he claims someone tried to stop him. I guess he's getting payback because right before this, I did post the picture that you're going to be on here, and I guess he caught wind of that.
That dude is probably 3 sheets to the wind with his tequila that he likes to drink, so I'm not worried about him.
Uh,
But he asked me if I'd been a fan of wrestling for a while. Man, I'm 46 years old. I was watching wrestling on Sunday mornings before church. Tuesday Night Titans, I was there when the
man.
first Raw came out. Been to Nitros when I was growing up, Raws, house shows, TNA events when they were running, throughout the country. Man, I watch biographies, YouTube channels. I have a very extensive book library of wrestling autobiographies. I just got a new book in yesterday called Beyond Nitro, which is written by the same guys that wrote the Nitro book, and which is a great book if you're running a promotion. Read some of these books so you know what not to do and what does work and stuff like that. So I study. I listen to podcasts in my car because I'm always with my job. I'm up down the highway, so I'm listening to podcasts all day long, whether it's, the Busted Open podcast, the 6 Feet Under, Click This, Bradshaw and Briscoe. That's a great one too. So, I tell people, man, music's great, and I love music. Trust me. But I love to listen to podcasts and learn. So I've studied the game for a long time. I'm not trying to sound conceited or anything, but sometimes, people, they're like, oh, well, you didn't wrestle. Yeah, but I'm not out there giving people power bombs. I'm not out there, giving people body slams and stuff like that. My job is to promote companies, promote businesses, promote wrestlers, and market them and make them look good so they can get to the next level, whether it's the company or the wrestler themselves.
I mean, as a GM, obviously you got to do your homework, right? You always got to be on top of what's happening in wrestling, right? And always be aware of what talent needs and where they could get better at. You don't have to be in the ropes all the time. Be in the square circle to understand the business, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
but you got to respect it, and that's not a play. It's not a play on just and that's kind of why Respect the Business came about. I was arguing with someone one time. I said, "Look, man," I said, "I respect this business probably more than most people do because I'm not trying to make a buck. My career is in insurance. I love what I do. That takes care of my family, pays the bills, and most independent wrestlers." Or people that work in the business have shoot jobs. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's we got to, or we'd be, at the food bank every day. Oh, yeah. But at the same time, I do respect this business. I take it very seriously. I'm very OCD. I sometimes can be a control freak. Derek Chancellor, who owns WWA, we butt heads every once in a while. Outside of the storylines and stuff. He's like, "Hey, man, I don't know if we can do that." And I'm like, I think we can, but he's like, "Can you handle this? Do you need help with this?" I'm like, I got it. Man, I'm editing the videos. I'm editing the storylines, man. I'm booking the talent. It's a lot.
You just said this. Not only you're the GM, but you're also help with booking everything.
Yes, sir.
Because, we're in a group chat, you and me with other people. I'm not going to mention everybody, but I've seen some of your ideas and I'm not going to disclose anything. And you wrote one day a story you were working on. I was like, holy crap, that's going to be badass when it's done. And
we started it.
Yeah, you started it at was that the last show? I believe it was the Battle Royal.
Yeah, Made Madness. We started at the end, this new storyline that's coming about. And Ruthless Devontae Adams decided to turn his back on Respect the Business. Respect the Business is not like the NWO. I mean, I know our logo kind of looks like that. It's just, everybody does that, but we're kind of like the sheriffs, the law of WWA, and he turned his back, so we had to let him know that that's not cool. So Derek's not too happy about that, but it is what it is.
But man, we're gonna take a quick break to hear from the sponsor, and we're gonna come right back to RTB because I need to ask some questions about that. So. This is going to be a message from Advanced Fitness Center, and we'll be right back. Here we go. Bet your ass. Try to be best, 'cause you're only a man, and a man's going to learn to take it. You gotta hang tough to me.
Do you have dreams of getting a sick pump and getting jacked and juicy like Jacked and Juicy Joe Angelo Garcia and the King Outlaw Jason Bruce? Then what you need to do is you need to come on down to Advanced Fitness Center, AFC 2221, FM 2280, King, Texas. Come in and get a sick pump. Ask questions. Call 817-506-0003, 817-506-0003. King, Texas, come in and get jacked and juicy like Jacked and Juicy, baby.
And we're back. That was an interesting message. I don't know if you've ever hit the gym at Advanced Fitness Center, but I hear good
I haven't.
things.
You know, it's up there in Dallas, in that area. I would be afraid to have Jason Bruce as a trainer. That would scare me. Ace and I, we've been working on stuff here. You know, Ace is trying to tone up. I need to lose a lot of weight myself, so that's no lie. So I've been working on stuff here, eating better, doing DDP yoga.
Oh, I saw you posting about that the other day, not too long ago. You were like DDP yoga something, and I was like, oh, I need to try that out because
there's things coming up in the future that I really need to get in shape for. So, kind of.
Well, me personally is like I'm sitting here with a bunch of wrestlers and I'm interviewing them. I'm like, oh man, I think I need to work out this upper body so I can wear a tank top or something on camera one time.
Yeah, I mean, with me being 46, you know, it's a little bit harder to do that. But some of these guys, they got the metabolism of a 13-year-old. So,
man, but you said it. Jason Bruce is a freak of nature. That dude's arm is like double mine, and
sweetest guy in the world backstage.
Oh, yeah, I've spoken to him a few times after the shows, and yeah, he's a really cool dude, down to earth.
And I love his tag team partner Joe Garcia. We've had lots of conversations before. He's wrestled numerous times at WWA, and of course I've run into him at NTW. And you know, I love Jacked and Juicy. I'm not going to say the derogatory name that Deshaun likes to call that team. They deserve better as the tag team champions. So.
Oh yeah, they do, but they got some obstacles.
Yes, sir.
We'll get into that another day, but before we ended for the first break, we were talking about RTB being the law of WWA. Now, we've seen you show up to NTW shows. In the future, do we ever see a RTB versus Oro gang in the future?
You know, we want that to happen. We really do.
You're like, we want all the smoke from Deshaun.
I wouldn't even call it smoke, man. I would call it like a little, you know, like the little, I don't know. You ever seen the movie Joe Dirt when he's all talking about, you know, whisker chasers and thumb muzzles and whatever? And I got the little
snakes and sparklers.
You know? That's kind of the letdown you have when it comes to Oro and Deshaun. I mean that's the shade I'm going to throw at him right now. But you know, we're willing and we're ready to head up there. You know, I just added a new member, Rodzilla. He's out of Lions Pride, and he was a member of the Bad Boys, and he let his cousin know that he's tired of his worthlessness. So he came in. He saved me from getting hit with a chair at our last show. So
that's who Deshaun was referencing in his last his appearance here about his cousin turning his back on him. And I'm assuming that's what he was talking about.
Exactly. So you know, he didn't turn his back. He actually saved me.
Oh.
That's how I look at it. So Rodzilla, you know, he's a phenomenal athlete. His cousin is too, but I mean, his cousin doesn't share the same vision that we do at RTB. But man, I mean, I've got a full house, and then we've got a fifth member. You know, he travels all over the country, and his name is Anthony Andrews. So he actually came out at Operation Oro, and helped save Soda Pop. You know, he led the charge.
Okay, I remember that.
And you know, we chased off the Oro, and they jumped the railing and went out the back door. So
Soda Pop also wrestled for NWA, correct?
Correct. Anthony was part of NWA. You know, he was part of the Country Gentlemen. They were the longest United States tag team champions in NWA history.
I felt so ignorant at that show, Operation O. When I saw Soda Pop, I was like, that guy looks so familiar. And I couldn't put my finger on it until after I was on social media. I was like, yeah, can anybody identify this guy? And this one guy was like, oh, that was Soda Pop from NWA. I was like, oh my God. Now they get a picture.
He's an entrepreneur. He makes wrestling clothes. He's a great guy. He was on the show recently that I put together called Joint Forces, which was a veteran-minded show, and we celebrated veterans at that show. And Soda is a Marine veteran himself. We honored him at Operation Oro.
I remember
in the middle of the ring.
So I was going to ask you about that. You came out, man.
Getting into a good question.
Oh man, so I gotta ask before that other interruption. I think Deshaun's watching, but you were honoring veterans at Operation Oro. Do you work with veterans personally?
Yeah, I work for Humana, which is a Medicare insurance company. I work directly for the company, so that's the only insurance company that I work for. So I'm a captive agent. I travel all the way from Texarkana down to, I would say, Jasper, Newton, all the way over towards Corsicana, places like that. I've been to Dallas, working up there doing stuff. But every agent has their niche. Some work with nursing homes, some work with doctors and stuff. And I do a little bit of that with what I do. But my main niche is working with veterans. When I started in 2020 and the whole world was shut down, they were the only ones that were still meeting. So, I went out there, I got ingrained in the culture. I've been certified in cultural competency through Texas Veterans Commission on how to engage with veterans. I teach other agents on how to work with veterans. So it's a big part of my life. I've even been asked, hey, what is your rating with the VA? Because I run into people and I'm like, I'm not a veteran. So I've never would have stolen valor or anything like that. But, it's when you're around a group long enough, you start actually talking like that or learning that, or you kind of like take on some of that swagger, you know what I'm saying? Or some of those aneurysms. And it's the same thing. Some people think, you walk like a veteran, which I've never heard that before until someone said that. So it's like, okay, but I love what I do, and I'm blessed by God that I'm able to do that and go out there and take care of people. I've helped people prevent suicide, which is a big thing for me in the veteran community. I've helped people get food that had food insecurities, housing, things like that. So I love what I do with Humana.
Man, if you ever want to learn how to stay busy, ask that guy right there.
Well, I also got 3-count wood art, which is I make wood pieces. They go on the wall. I'm the only guy I know that makes wrestling soap.
Wrestling soap?
Yeah, wrestling soap. Like here's one from like one of our shows. I just actually had this near my desk, but this is from one of our shows that we did.
Oh, okay.
But I have lots of wrestlers that hit me up and they're like, hey, I want to get my own brand of soap and sell it at my merch table, and people do that because it's something that you don't see at a show. Is someone's own bar of soap with so I can design the color,
that right there. If you ever need a bar of soap and you're a wrestler, hit up Brady Brown. Put in your orders today.
Well, I went to a Comic-Con one time and they had like Superman soap and they had Spider-Man soap and Supernatural and Buffy and all that. And I'm like, you got any wrestling soap? Because I'm a huge wrestling fan. He was like, no, I've never done wrestling soap. No one's ever asked me. So I learned how to do it. It's not an easy process, but it is once you learn how to do it. So my wife and I, we put them together and print out the labels, shrink wrap them, stuff like that. I sell them at shows, and a lot of times I've been at a show, and I've made more money at my merch table than a wrestler has, and they're like, "How are you doing that?" I'm like,
"Wow,
I have different things, different items, I make buttons too, so if you need buttons for your merch table, I can do that as well."
So we've been talking about all the stuff you do in and out of the ring, right, or in and out of the business. Does that help you be a different style of GM compared to every other GM around?
I would say so, and I'm not going to throw shade at people. Deshaun is a really good owner. This is just shooting. Deshaun's a really good owner. his character is a complete, total trash.
Yeah, I mean,
But I got into this business, and when Derek asked for GM, I told him, I said, look, man, I said, I'm not going to be a trash GM. I said, I'm always going to be honest with the guys, even if I have to be blunt. And sometimes I have to, I have to say those things because,
yeah.
there's things that Derek doesn't want to tell someone that I'll have to tell him, and that's fine because that's my job. But I want the wrestlers to be able to come to me and say, hey, I got a problem with this, or what do you think about us doing this? I'm an open book. I'll listen. If it makes sense, then we can do it. And I was talking to a wrestler the other night, about a storyline, and he was like, he came up with this long drawn out thing, and I said, you know what, I like it. I said, let's tweak a couple things, but you know what, let's give it a chance. But at the same time, I'm also very fair. I don't believe in being a carny or a con man. There's plenty of those type of people out there in this
Oh, yeah.
business. And if you want to know who they are, just go look at social media because they'll easily front them out. And so I want to be the type of person. And I told Derek this, I told my wife this, I tell Ace this, and I give people advice on this. I was like, always go out there and work to the ability to where you never have to apologize for anything. And that's not being arrogant. That's just, man, go out there and do the right thing. This business is filled with ego. It's filled with people that don't want to do the right thing. People will step on each other, stab each other in the back. Our locker room, and George, I want you to come to our next show, man, so you can feel our locker room. We have people that come in and like, dude, I love the vibe of this locker room. There are people back there helping each other. I've seen people help each other lace their boots up. But everybody is like a family at Warrior Wrestling Alliance. We cooked out and barbecued this past show before the Rumble. I mean, having 30 people, it wasn't like 20 people and then 10 of them are in masks going out there wrestling twice for a Rumble. It was 30 actual people plus our security, our refs, and support people. And we're out there, barbecuing and stuff before the show, and just having a good time like a family and enjoying it.
That would be an interesting sight to see a bunch of jacked up dudes actually eating barbecue instead of just healthy food.
I mean, we had a lot of fun with it. We're sitting around on the loading dock behind the building, and everybody's just sitting there. We're drinking Gatorade and water, and Derek's over there at the grill cooking and stuff. So we had a lot of fun with it, a lot of fellowship. I love talking to the guys. I've prayed with people. I've hugged people while they cried on my shoulder. I've been there when some late nights people have called me like, hey man, can we just talk? Because I'm going through stuff with my family. So that's the type of person I want to be in wrestling. I want to be able to help out and give back to it. Because it's, I remember, man, whenever I was younger and I didn't have as many friends or there were times, when I was lonely, before I met my wife. Wrestling was there for me, man. I want to give back,
That's a really great story because, I went through a divorce not that long ago, probably about 2019 around there. I hit rock bottom, and during that process of trying to, recover from all that, wrestling is actually what saved me, because if it wasn't for the Wrestling Today podcast, I probably would have, done some craziness, right? But one day flipping through the channel like always, turned the TV on. It was just a random Wednesday, and I just turned on AEW. And I just started watching it, and this was the early days of AEW, so I was like, oh, okay, damn, they're really killing each other in there, kicking each other. I want to say it was Kenny Omega versus somebody. I can't remember which match it was, but I was like, oh man. Then I started watching more and more.
Paper bag, and it'd be awesome. So.
Oh yeah. So I just kept watching, and then I just like, man, I forgot how badass wrestling can be sometimes. Because for a while it was just WWE, right, and a little bit of TNA because they were up and down with their stuff. And yeah, I decided to create this, and it pretty much saved me.
Absolutely, man. You're doing a great job. It's fantastic. And that brings up a great point, too, that GMs need to pay attention to, because a lot of GMs, they're caring about, okay, who's late, who's not here on time, or, we got to get these matches going. Y'all need to listen to this. And then they're doing other stuff. But, man, sometimes we don't know what a wrestler's dealing with. It's just like, in your job too. You don't know what someone's dealing with. So I want to be there, and I want to be open and listen. I don't get taken advantage of. Fool me once, fool me twice scenario. But at the same time, I give people a chance. Until they break that trust.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, wrestlers are still humans, right? They're still
Absolutely.
human beings. They're still people that deal with everyday struggles. So the fact that you have that policy, open door policy, and they can call you anytime is it's just amazing. You don't really see too many people get involved with, I guess, their talent or employees. They kind of just like keep it business and that's it, which I commend you for that, for doing that for those guys. And it shows because every time I see you at the shows, everyone's attracted to you. They just go towards you and say, "Hey, what's up, Brady?" I'm like, "Who is that guy?"
Oh man, you're giving me way too much credit. But, I've been called a mark before, which I think is such a stupid term, man. I'm a fan of wrestling. I'm not trying to be someone's best friend, because I don't want to get taken advantage of, but I can be someone's brother. That word brother gets thrown around a lot, in the locker room. It's all the way back to Hulk Hogan and Macho saying it. But at the same time, I can be someone's brother if they need, some help and stuff. And I love being there. Ace, like I said, Ace is close to me. We live in the same town here in Henderson, Texas, and we run into each other a lot. And he's broken bread at my house and stuff. I'm old enough to be his dad, but at the same time, I'm more like a big brother to him. And they just had a baby like a week and a half ago, so I've got an appearance that WWA is going to be at for Vet Fest this weekend. We're just out there doing some marketing. At the same time, he's just like, "Oh, I could probably go." I was like, "Dude, I've got a 1-year-old and a newborn." I said, "You're staying at the house." I have to look out for him sometimes, but
I remember those days. I remember the days of newborns and a 1-year-old.
Yeah, me too. So I'm like, dude,
My
you stay at
daughters
the
are
house.
2 years apart.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I know how it is. I was like, I found myself wanting to be at work, but everybody was like, "Go home."
Exactly. So
But
I can
if I had
understand.
the podcast back then, I don't think I would have had time, but especially with 2 little kids running around.
It's hard, man. I mean, I've got an 11-year-old, and
Oh,
and I got a 19-year-old. 19-year-old's in college, going to be a nurse, but my 11-year-old, he's actually in the business. A lot of
oh,
people don't know that. His name is William. He is the play-by-play commentator for Warrior Wrestling Alliance. He
oh,
was not on our last show because he had a really bad cold, and I was like, "Yeah, you're not getting the locker room sick," because Texas went through that whole flu phase, about a month or two
oh
ago.
man, I had got it, and I was like,
So
"Oh
I was
my
like, "Yeah,
god,
you're not getting the locker room sick," but he's broadcasted 2 out of the past 3 shows, and he's
nice."
our play-by-play. This kid will correct Michael Cole while we're watching Raw on Monday night. He is that good. He's been actually trained by someone who trained him to be a broadcast journalist. And like I said, I was a play-by-play for football and basketball. I can't be a play-by-play for wrestling. I could be a color commentator. I'm more like a Pat McAfee at that. But man, he is awesome at it. In fact, the last show he did, I was getting beat down by Matthew Day Luna's family for trying to protect Ace during a last man standing match or last bro standing match. I'm
Oh,
getting beat
I
down,
remember
and
that.
when I go back and I'm putting the audio and the video back together to edit the show, I hear my son. My dad's over there getting beat up by Dave Luna's family. They need to get that family out of here. And so hearing my son, my 11-year-old, say that my dad's getting beat up,
He
pretty
didn't get up to
funny.
help you. He just let you get beat up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, he's 11, so I mean, I don't want him. He's.
Yeah.
You know what? In fact, there's been one guy who's actually targeted him, and that is Jay Knight from the Oro gang.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's been making these threats and stuff about if he doesn't get his way, he's going to go after my son, like he went after Cordova's son. And
Oh,
yeah, William was sick at the last show, so Jay had to settle for something else. And
oh.
but
Yeah,
my son is not scared of him.
it reminds me of my nephew. He was at the last show, and everybody knows him. He's the loud guy next to me all the time.
I've seen him.
And I guess the posse that came out from APW, And he was picking a fight with one of those guys, and I was like, bro, you're on your own if they jump that rail. He's like, me and my uncle will get you. Like, oh, who's your uncle? Where's he at? He's in the parking lot, I think. And I was like, man, shut up. You're going to get us jumped. But he's always messing with like Kane Carter, Davion Black, and of course the Evil Twins. He's always messing with one of those guys. I think it's the same guy.
Well, William, he's bold. We had a production meeting 2 shows ago, and we were wrapping up. And anybody's ever been in production meetings when all the wrestlers get together and they're listening to the GM Booker, and we're talking about the show and stuff like that. And he actually is like, "Hey, I got something to say," and I'm like, "Okay." And like he talked about, he said, "I want you guys to to give me stuff." He said, "Come meet with me before your matches. I want to know more about you. I want to be able to put you guys over." And I was like, "What?" You did that?
For me, I haven't gotten to that level yet where they let me in the production meetings, but one day,
You need to be.
one day, slowly making my way in. Obviously, me and NTW have made this partnership, getting everyone from Texas wrestling on here as much as we can, and then of course, y'all recently invited me to y'all's group chat, and I'm like, oh.
Well, I'm going to be there in June. I have a feeling you're probably going to be there in June.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely. Me
and Chris Hill, we see eye to eye on some stuff, not everything, but we see eye to eye. And Chris owes me a favor after I helped save his show back at Operation Oro by leading the guys out there to go take out the Oro gang. So, man, I want to get you back there so you can see what production meetings like. So,
oh yeah, there's some things I talk about and won't talk about. So if they ever let me in, just know I won't talk about it to the public, guys.
Yeah, and that gay man, that was crazy at Operation Oro.
Oh man, that was a great show.
I made an enemy that night that kind of scares me because he is big. It's Big J. I cracked him in the back with De Luna's shillelagh because he was about to hit Ace with the chair because he was managing.
I remember that.
He was managing Red and Mikey Barker that day, and Ace goes up there about to put away Red, and he's up on the turnbuckle, and I see Big J come walking around with a chair like he's going to crack Ace, and Ace is someone that I had big plans for with WWA, so I was protecting, an investment in him. Yeah. So I came out of the back.
I remember you grabbed the chair from him.
No, I actually had Matthew De Luna's shillelagh. I grabbed it out of his bag. Oh. It's the only weapon I could find back there. So I came running out of the back, and I cracked Jay in the back with that.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember now. You cracked him. He turned around, looked at you, and
Cobra and APR grabbed me. They were dragging me back. Then the adrenaline hit all of a sudden. It's like when you could lift a car, because the adrenaline's going so high. I was dragging all 3 of them back to the ring trying to get there because they were getting between me and Ace. Jay was. And Jay was straight getting in my face. And I don't know what I was going to do because he's a big dude. And he's probably about a foot taller than me. But at the same time, man, I had that adrenaline going. I was like, I was going to go after Jay for some reason.
I got a bone to pick with that guy because the first time I met him, he poked fun at my weight. I'm like, hold up, bro. I'm going to drop some pounds. I'm going to whoop your ass. All right.
Dude. Yeah. He ain't going to win a spelling bee. But, it is one of those. And I know I'm throwing shade at him. I'll probably see him in June. So I'm kind of nervous about that. But
don't worry. I'm going to clip this and make sure he sees it. I'm just kidding.
That's awesome. So we need to talk about what, Deshaun?
Last but not least, I guess. I mean, he's going to say, they saved the best for last. No, we've got more interesting topics to talk about.
And there's a picture going around out there. It's Deshaun and I and his little muscle security. I like to call him Chrysler LeBaron. And, of course, he also had Hyundai Tucson, his security guys. I was like, everybody in your security named after cars or something. But we broke bread at Roadhouse up in Arlington area, maybe Grand Prairie. I can't remember exactly where it was. But we were talking about doing some collaborations between WWA and NTW. And things were going well until I brought Ace into RTB. He doesn't like that because Ace was part of the Step Bros. Step Bros always were up against Operation Oro. So he felt like I betrayed him because I was doing something on my own at WWA. Next thing I know, he's showing up at my shows because he's mad about Ace being there. So that's why, I came there to protect Ace. I needed to make sure that he was safe. But At the same time, it's all because I made a choice to do something at another show that Deshaun didn't like. So he thinks he can control WWA, which he can't.
Oh,
He can't even control NTW.
yeah. I
So
mean, Deshaun has not only been to WWA, he's been to APW, of course. Messed around and got someone injured or something. Supposedly, he'll deny every allegation with that. And Chance Fortune, right? You know,
I was cutting a promo at Hype and Glory at Texarkana one time, and he showed up in the middle of that promo with Tiny G-Log.
man,
And luckily Anthony was there and was watching the promo happen, and he came out of nowhere and backed me up and scared the two of them off. But it's one of those deals. It's like, my gosh, this dude is like a cockroach everywhere I go. He wants to show up, and then he likes to call us the Timu Oro. Dude, nobody wants to even be a knockoff of Oro. Trust me, dude. We're on a whole different level. We're doing a whole different thing. But if he wants a war, he's gonna get a war.
hey,
But between the talent that I have, man, there is like 50 plus years of wrestling when you combine all the talent that I have. Actually, I would go closer to 60 years between Anthony, Cordova, Summers alone. Then you throw in Ace and Bride, the two young bucks on the team. Oh my gosh.
man.
There is nothing. We're not the Oro. I mean, we're not the Timu Oro.
So,
Anything. They're the Wish RTB.
would it be safe to say that one day in the future, maybe in the summer, maybe towards the end of the year, WWA, NTW collide somewhere because of this?
Absolutely. It wouldn't be the first time that WWA's clashed with another company.
Hell, screw it. Just bring on APW too. Just throw everybody out there.
Dude, I'm thinking of a main
All out-
event.
All out
I
brawl.
don't want to do it at WWA because I don't want any excuses when it happens and we beat Oro. I want it at NTW. I want my 5 guys in a main event against this 5 guy Survivor Series style. I'm throwing a challenge out there.
Oh, y'all heard it here first. So, Deshaun, if you're listening, make sure you answer.
He's got to sober up first. I know
I think he's
probably still partying from his birthday.
He's probably still hungover from the 3rd.
Exactly.
Oh man,
So,
but man, this was fun right here. This was very fun. I enjoyed this entire conversation. Before we wrap it up, though, where can everybody find you at, like on social media?
dude, I've got a Facebook. That's about it, man. I don't do TikTok I've got an Instagram on there, and a lot of people that I know in the wrestling business we're already friends on Instagram and stuff and follow each other. But I've got mainly Facebook. We've got the Real Warrior Wrestling Alliance. That's our YouTube channel. There was an old one, but we revamped it. We changed our audio and video quality, so you can find me there. You can go to 3 Count Wood Art on Facebook also if you want to check out, some of the merch and stuff that we do. See if there's something that you want designed. But man, you can find me at Warrior Wrestling Alliance. Also, the stuff that we do there. Our next show is called Guns and Blazing. It's going to be July 26th. We're taking a little bit of a break, man. We've been kicking it hard, starting out, in January, and then we're going to finish the year up with 4 or 5 shows, man. So that's going to be. It's going to be crazy once we come back in July. So we needed a little bit of a break. And like I said, I'm coming there in June to the next NTW show.
Y'all were doing almost 2 shows a month for the past few
No,
months,
we're doing
right?
about once every month.
Once.
But, we needed to – the guys, it's one of those things, man. It's, even you got to take care of your support staff too. And you got to take care of yourself mentally and stuff. But it also it didn't fall on the right dates. The venue that we like to use the dates didn't line up, and then the one date that we had that would have been a little bit closer was the same weekend as All In. So I'd rather have more people coming to the show than watching All In, and so I don't want a conflict with that, especially since it's going to be in Texas this year.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that we get people there for this show, and it's going to be really cool. It's going to be an innovative show that we're doing.
So, last but not least, if there's any wrestlers out there, is it safe to say that they can contact you if they're interested in wrestling?
Absolutely. Whether they're interested in wrestling there, if they need to talk, anything like that, they got any ideas or they need some help with something, whether it's, marketing or talking about, gimmicks and stuff like that. I love doing that too. That's just I've had people reach out, man. What do you think about this? It's not even my show, or they're thinking about changing up, their whole gimmick, and I'll give them my 2 cents, and talk to them.
All right. So yeah, there you go. There's the man right there, Brady Brown. Thank you for jumping on here with us, man. I really do appreciate it.
And thank you for having me, man. It's been a blast. I appreciate this wholeheartedly. I love being a part of this. I love what you're doing out there, man. People need to do more out there like this to help out and get these guys over and get the companies over. Because, without the companies, we can't have places for our guys to go wrestling. But without the wrestlers, we can't have the company. So,
oh yeah, and without the great bookers and GMs, of course.
I mean, without the fans,
yeah. I mean,
that's the deal.
I've been to NTW quite a bit, and each time it looks like it's an AEW show, but it turns out to be a solid show. Great.
Same thing down there at WWA. You see the same fans in the crowd, but then you see more fans, and that's what you want to keep building on. To
you said July or June is the next show?
July 26th is our next show for not Game Changer, and Guns Blazing.
No, that's June 22nd. Game Changer.
Yeah. I'm gonna be there for June 22nd. So
just because Deshaun ain't showing up, because like, okay, I'm gonna put my feet up here.
Yeah, even if he was there, I would still show up just because I got a moment. He wants to try and ruin the little kid's birthday at my last show.
Oh man, that's messed up. But if you see the mic next to me open, man, feel free to join me.
Oh, absolutely, man. That'll be fine.
Yeah, because last time I set most of the show without anybody, then Jack the Juicy came after that beating they took. That was kind of cool of them to do, like bumped up and sore, but they were still there.
Dude, I'm gonna bring my own microphone and come out there just in case they want. I think Chris will give me a microphone, but I'm gonna come out there. I'm gonna say a few words. I've got to hate on Deshaun for not being there, and then I'll probably jump over there and get on the mic with you.
Oh man, it's a live mic, so if you want to do a shoot, there you go.
There we go, man. I appreciate it.
But all right, guys. Until next time, y'all stay safe. God bless and peace.
Thank you.